Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Midas Letter RAW. This is our third show, and today we're kind of getting the hang of it. It's kind of interesting. I really like what's going on here. We're gonna do a show every day, and we're gonna do one show each day, and it's going to be based around the end of market. And today, for example, we've got a 2-hour show. We've got at 3 o'clock Tyler Robson from Valens GroWorks Corp joining us. He trades on the Canadian securities under the symbol VGW, well, not at 3 o'clock because it's 3 o'clock now, but very shortly. Then at 3:15, we have from Canna Royalty Corp, the legal counsel and corporate secretary Michael Garbuz will be joining us, and we're going to be talking about the Senate vote on Bill C-45, which apparently the press is still suggesting is somewhat uncertain, which I find surprising. Then at 3:30, I'll be joined by my trusty sidekick, Ed Milewski, and Ed and I will be talking about the market action in the cannabis space today. We shall continue to babble nonsensically until approximately 4:05, where Jason Spatafora, the wolf of Weed Street, now this guy is probably one of the most knowledgeable, most followed individuals in the Twitterverse, in the marijuana space. He's based in the US. He is a shareholder in the Green Organic Dutchman and is very intimate with the details of that company. So we're going to talk about TGOD and other things, probably some companies he likes, probably some companies he hates. And then at 4:30, we've got Mike Gorenstein, the CEO of Cronos Group, who's been here many times before. Mike is always an interesting conversation, and we're going to talk about what the legalization of cannabis means for him today. So I just want to start with a quick look at because we are shameless promoters here, I want to start with a quick look at the Midas Letter Cannabis Composite Index. And the URL for that is Midas Letter. I'm actually getting sidetracked here. There's lots going on. People just ignore me while I'm doing this show here, and so I'm on my own. Anyways, if you haven't checked out our cannabis indexes yet, MidasLetter.com/cannabis. The Midas Letter Canadian Composite is the one we're going to start with right now. This is all Canadian companies listed in Canada that are in the cannabis space, and as you can see here, we have 10 of them listed. The obviously led by Canopy Growth Corporation is the largest one. Oh boy. See, we're so new at this that I forgot to pull up the app that allows you to see what I'm doing on my screen. And here it is, coming up, live. Anyways, so yes, Canopy Growth Corp, trading under the symbol WEED in Canada, trading under the symbol CGC on the New York Stock Exchange. So far today has traded almost 6 million shares and total value of $233 million worth of stock. And its market cap today stands at over $8 billion. This is actually slightly inaccurate. So, as you can see, the index is down a bit today, down 3.45%. And this is probably, I'm going to take a wild guess here, this is probably the market selling off in the face of the uncertainty surrounding the vote that's happening in the Senate, or isn't happening. They have apparently till midnight tonight for all senators to decide. So we don't actually know what's going to happen. We just don't know. Though Justin Trudeau did load the deck by appointing 2 new senators. Very interesting. That might just be enough to swing the vote. We'll see what happens. Anyways, I'm going to be joined now by Tyler Robson. He's the CEO of Valens Grow, and he's going to give us his take on what is happening. Video's coming up in 1 second. And that'll be just a second here, okay? Well, in the meantime, we will discuss Valens Grow. If you haven't checked it out, symbol is VGW on the CSE. Valens Grow is in the business of extracts and concentrates, and Tyler is probably one of the most knowledgeable people in the universe, and at some point he will appear on this screen. There he is. Tyler, how's it going? Awesome, man. Good to see you. How have you been?
Really good. How are you? Really good.
Fantastic. So let's cut straight to it. What do you think is going to happen with this this vote today, Bill C-45 in the Senate?
I think it's going to go through. I think the day's finally come where they figured it out, and I think it's going to pass.
Yeah, you bet. Okay, I find it surprising that some of the mainstream media is actually still sort of suggesting that it's uncertain or that there's still a chance that it won't go through.
It is the federal government, so you do never know what they're going to do. But the fact that they've come as far as they have, everything's starting to happen. The provinces are starting to announce private retail. Manitoba has done it. Saskatchewan has now done it. So I think everything is going in the right direction. And I think today will be the day for it to pass the Senate.
Right. Okay, and what does that mean for Valens Grow? Is that going to really change it up for you? Are you suddenly going to find yourself in short supply of your wonderful products?
I think we are, yeah. Depending, too, with Section 159 of the Cannabis Act, it merges licensed dealers to licensed producers. So we're not exactly sure where the dust will settle after today. But we're super excited, and I know the whole industry is going to face a shortage, which does include us for sure. And then it really will open products, because edibles and concentrates are actually hardwired in to legalization, which not a lot of people know. So it really sets the stage for what's coming in the sector altogether.
Right. Okay. So then, do you have a line of recreational branded products ready to go at this point?
We do. We haven't announced it yet, but we do have stuff in the works that are getting ready to go. Again, we're working through the Health Canada requirements of branding and packaging. So we're being very careful, especially too with the clothing requirement that they came out with, where cannabis companies can't be on clothing, depending on the amendment today. So we didn't want to jump the gun like a few of these other companies and really set ourselves up for failure. So we've held our cards very close to our chest at the end of the day. And we're excited to finally let them out there for sure. Yeah,
you bet. Okay, so, you know, we're looking at your stock chart here, and there's been a bit of a sell-off in some of the companies that haven't really participated, though you're up 2.5% today. Do you think that investors are going to start to flood into the market with even more enthusiasm now that legalization has finally arrived?
I do, yeah. I think a few investors have really been holding off because they were unsure of the legalities of the cannabis sector. So I think this vote in the Senate really brings a whole new wave of people really getting into the sector. I truly believe the banks are really going to start getting involved in a big way. I know there's a few that have been doing it, like BMO, but I think it's now the beginning of a new tidal wave.
Yeah, you bet. All right. So, is there anything that you're going to do differently now that the legalization has happened for recreational users?
Yeah, stop wasting our time. To be honest, now that we actually have a clear path on where we need to go and how we need to get there, I think we'll really be able to fine tune our company's overall vision and actually start doing things properly. Health Canada has left so many things up in the air: what's allowed, what's not allowed, and even timing. So I really think we're going to hit the ground running as soon as this vote hit.
Yeah, you bet. All right, then do you think that there's going to be an increase in the amount of licensees from Health Canada now that there's legalization? Do you think there'll be a flood of new licenses, or do you think that it's going to continue more or less at the same pace?
To be honest, I'm under the impression it's going to slow down. Health Canada has really removed a lot of resources from the licensing issue to get ready for the Cannabis Act. So I think they're really going to service the license that are already existing before they start issuing a whole bunch more, essentially. So I really think they might slow down. If not, they'll definitely stay the same speed. I really don't think it's just because it's past Senate.
Right. Let's talk a bit about the news release you put out today that you had some additions to the to your board, or rather to your management team. Who are these people and why are they important?
I can't say enough about them, to be honest. I'm ecstatic that they joined our company. Chantel, for example, she has a ton of pharmaceutical experience. She worked for I won't say the company, but a very big company that ended up getting purchased for Shoppers Drug Mart. So she has a lot of contacts in the pharmaceutical world. So even just helping with our distribution plans and really making sure our medical products stay medical moving forward, she's going to be tremendous. As well as our CFO, Chris, delighted to have him. He's going to be very good. He's a numbers guy. I think all accountants or CFOs are a little bit different in their own way or shape, I guess. But tremendous amount of experience, public entity experience. So I think he'll be great and he'll be a good fit for our team.
Right. Okay. What about, so all these people are sort of fleshing out the, you know, the grander vision, if you will. And what is the grand vision? What is the big picture for Valens Grow? Why, as an investor, should I buy the company now?
Because we know what we're doing. To be honest, I think there's a lot of noise in this sector, fluff we'll call it, where I think we're fundamentally sound. And to be honest, we're just excited to prove ourselves. The analogy I was taught at a young age, golfer. I've been golfing for 5, 6, 7 years, but I don't consider myself a pro just because I've been doing it. And I think that's what we're using for the cannabis sector. So sure, some of these people are coming in that have been in this sector for a year, 2, 3 yet, but they're not truly a pro. So I think we have a fundamentally sound team that will be very, very successful moving forward. And even just bringing in core values of what we are as a company, and then spreading that nationally with our expansion plans in the near future.
Right, right. Do you have any ambitions towards an international strategy?
Absolutely. That's why we have the dealer's license. Yeah, to be honest, we're set up perfectly for international distribution. A big thing, too, is why we went after the dealer's license was for the exact example of exporting. I think that's where the future of this entire industry lays. So if you look at any international market right now, it always starts with medical, and then it will move to a recreational. So we're a very medicinal-based company, and we're going to continue down that road to open up more distribution platforms internationally. And obviously, the big goal is to end up in the European Union. They have a 350 million consumer base, so all of our attention is heading straight to that.
Yeah, you bet, you bet. All right, that's great, Tyler. We're going to leave it there for now. We'll come back to you in due course. Of course, thank you very much for your participation as usual.
Perfect. Sorry I'm late, guys. Thanks for everything.
All right. So our next guest is a gentleman who is an authority in issues regulatory. He is the legal counsel and the corporate secretary for Canna Royalty Corp. His name is Michael Garbuz, and he will be here in just a few minutes. In the meantime, I'm going to look at my little audience here. I've got my good friend Chris Perry is watching, and he says, "Keep it together, Jimbo." Chris, that is excellent advice. This is, you know, as you can see, we're kind of new at this. We're not exactly smooth and slick. My good friend Ed Milewski is coming close to joining us, but he's on the phone, and he's actually not scheduled to join us till 3:30. Our next guest is just a couple of minutes late. So let's go back and look at the Midas Letter indexes here. Just a sec. I'm going to pull it up. And you will see. So there's something interesting going on here. Each of these indexes, the three on the right here, the Midas Letter Small Cap, the Midas Letter Venture Index, which is all companies listed on the venture exchange in the cannabis space, and then there's the Cannabis CSE Index here on the bottom. Each of these indexes were started at 100 on January 15th, 2015, or January 1st, 2015 rather. The Midas Letter Small Cap Index has returned 9.2 times invested capital from that date. The Cannabis Venture Index, 9.5%, we'll call it. But the Cannabis CSE Index, and this is fascinating because the CSE Index is, you know, arguably one of the smaller indexes, has returned 16 times invested capital since January 1, 2015. So what does that tell us? Does that tell us that the CSE is actually the hottest place to invest in the Canadian cannabis market? I don't know. It's your call. Anyways, I'd like to welcome my next guest now, Michael Garbuz, who is the corporate secretary and legal counsel for Canna Royalty Corp. I can't believe I'm having a hard time remembering that. How's it going, Michael? Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so let's talk a bit about this Senate vote. With that is or isn't happening? I mean, what is going on here?
Yeah, so I think we just got started like literally an hour ago. The Senate, I was just leaving the office. They're starting to set the ground rules in terms of talking time and all of that. I think I'm expecting we'll probably go pretty deep into the afternoon, maybe into the evening today, but should be exciting.
Yeah, no doubt. What do you think is going to happen?
I think most people are pretty confident that it's going to be passed tonight.
Right.
I think there's going to be a ton of amendments that will, I think, varying depending on how significant they are, send back to the House, and I'm pretty confident that it'll move pretty quickly through there as well. But we'll see how many amendments, what types of amendments. We've obviously been hearing a lot of chatter over the last few weeks around branding. A lot of the swag has been sort of a hot topic, especially on Twitter.
Yeah, that was interesting. I mean, really, does it make a difference if Canopy's name is on the bag? If it's not, what does it matter? I don't understand all that. What do you think the rationale is behind that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have sort of a lot of politics at play here where the Conservatives pushing and the Liberal just want to obviously get something through here. And I think there's some concessions that they're giving up to try and get the bill passed ultimately. I think long term, to have success in this industry and for the program, you're going to need some level of branding and marketing for companies to be able to differentiate their product offerings. At the end of the day, I think some people still look at this industry as a commodity. It's a CPG industry, and to be able to sell any CPG product, whether that's the jacket I'm wearing, where you eat, the clothes that you wear, the car that you buy, we make decisions based on brands. So I think to really get rid of the black market and have a thriving cannabis market in Canada, and questionable whether that's the goal of the government or not, and we can definitely touch on that. But I think to really have a successful program and get rid of the black market, we will need some increased level of branding for sure.
Now that's an interesting concept. You say get rid of the black market. Obviously the government has a vested interest in trying to put the illegal guys out of business, but if you look at weed maps, for example, there's 100 dispensaries in and around Toronto that are definitely illegal, that will deliver weed to your doorstep usually within an hour. What do you think the strategy is there? How are they going to do that? But I mean, branding issues aside, how are they going to actually stamp out this business, or can they?
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge for sure. I think branding, I touched on that because I think it's important, but I think the bigger item for me would really be around products. So Canada Realty, as you know, we're really focused on manufacturing and distributing products in California. We just went through sort of legalization on adult use in January 1st, so we know a lot of the challenges that are coming to Canada. But really what separates California and Canada, and there's a lot of things about the market, but one large thing is the product type. So in Canada, we have a medical program, we have the dried bud, we have the oil, we have a few little other SKUs that have come out, but nothing really significant. But really, when you look at those recreational markets, it's the vape pens and edibles and beverages and patches, creams, sublinguals that really ultimately end up dominating the market. And I think not allowing those, because those dispensaries that you mentioned, they all carry a lot of those products. So people go in and buy vape pens today. So if they don't have those products available as part of the legalization program in Canada, I think it's going to create a challenge for the success of the program, at least from day one.
People will go to the black market and get it.
Yeah, for sure.
So what about the issue where a Canadian licensed producer or an American licensed producer has the burden of compliance with state-level laws, provincial laws? In Canada, it's Health Canada. If you're publicly traded, it's the securities regulators. And there's going to be now this Ontario Cannabis Board and entities like it across the country. So the illegal growers and vendors don't have these burdens of compliance, which actually ultimately result in a higher cost product, their higher cost of sales. Is that going to be an advantage to them, and is that going to make it even harder to get rid of the illegal guys if they can actually offer product more cheaply? And certainly they have a better price sort of elasticity than do the licensed growers who have all of these costs of compliance.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think people talk about price a lot, and I think it's important, and I think the government has set an objective to price the product at a retail level legally cheaper than the black market, at least according to the data that they're seeing. And I think who actually gets hit in a lot of that scenario is going to be the licensed producer. So even though their cost might be a lot more significant than a black market operator, the provincial distributor who they're going to be selling to, we're seeing in a lot of wholesale agreements that people are buying at that the prices are actually pretty reduced to actually allow for margin for the distributor and then ultimately the retailer and for taxes to be remitted. So I don't see pricing on products necessarily being an issue. I've actually seen the reverse, where if you look at the OCS right now, they're looking at good, better, best in terms of product quality, and on a per gram basis, the best quality product is only being priced as high as I think about $12.50. Again, if you look at California in the cannabis industry, you have products like we just acquired an LP down there, ultra high premium product they've sold as high as $25 a gram at the retail level. Because if you do, like in any other CPG industry, like if you look at vodka, there is sort of that variance in price that consumers are willing to pay if you have a true CPG product that is, branded and packaged and told and marketed in a little bit of a different way. So I think the government, whether it's setting prices, to get over the black market or even having sort of higher end products, I think there's still a lot to learn. I've seen a lot of their decisions based in, data that's coming out, but a lot of that data, I think you need to do more than just look on the surface and see, what are wholesale prices in the black market in Canada. I think they need to understand consumer behavior a little bit more, and they will. I think they'll get there. I just think legalization from day one in Canada, like every other jurisdiction that's legalized cannabis, is going to have its challenges.
Right. Wow. Interesting. So in Oregon, in the news recently, we've heard that they are struggling with a surplus, which is causing an extreme competition in the price and driving the price of cannabis much lower. In the scenario you described there, where premium brands and premium products actually retain their value because of their premium nature, typically associated with the quality in some way, shape, or form, is that price competition environment that is undermining the price of all cannabis in Oregon going to happen here? And in Oregon, are those high premium quality cannabises maintaining their price against that kind of price pressure?
Yeah, so if you look at Oregon, as you mentioned, they're actually, I think, have cut off licensing, at least as a temporary provision, to allow for prices to come back up and competition to get a little bit less heated than it is right now. I think if you talk to a Canadian licensed producer today, which we're not yet, they'll tell you that they're going to be able to maintain their margin, at least to a certain degree. And if you look at the financial models, it sort of contemplates, from a valuation perspective, you have X square footage, this is your expansion capacity, this is how much product you're ultimately going to be making. Let's set like your rough margins that we're going to be able to sell at, and then that spits out a valuation based on how much cash that produces. In my mind, that's a little bit short-sighted, because if you look at a comparable industry like wine or beer, you're not going to value those companies based on their grape or wheat production, respectively. It's just not a KPI for the business. In a true CPG industry, it's really not commoditized like that. What's more important is actually having a consumer that comes in and says over and over that that's the product that I want to buy. I've seen some licensed producers, like what John Fowler's doing with Supreme, by really focusing on product quality as opposed to some of the nuances that other people are getting into. I think that makes a lot of sense to me from a consumer-facing perspective. And I think that's sort of how the price game will happen. In terms of commoditized prices and pressure going down, in Canada, if people aren't going to be able to make something that's differentiated, and if it's just, B quality or C quality or D quality bud, long term, I just don't think that's going to be able to sell at a retail level unless there's something differentiated about that product. And a lot of that ultimately, long term, is going to go into oil-based products, in my mind.
Interesting. What portion of the Canna Royalty portfolio is Canadian versus U.S.?
Yeah, so right now, most of our focus is on California. And I just want to sort of correct that statement in a little bit, because a lot of people, when they think of our story, they think of sort of a diversified holdings of cannabis businesses, whether it's equity, royalties, debt, licensing, et cetera. The focus for us has really shifted over the last, call it like 3 quarters, where our focus has really been around acquiring and operating manufacturing and distribution assets of branded cannabis products in California. So since the end of the beginning of 2018 with legalization, we've actually accounted for, as of April, 5% of all taxes remitted in the state. The
Canna Royalty.
Exactly.
Really? 5% of all taxes remitted from the cannabis industry in the state of California are from Canna Royalty businesses?
Yeah, we put that out in April when we put out some of the numbers on some of the distributors that we had acquired down there. And if you look at the industry and you sort of juxtapose it to Canada, they're dealing with a ton of challenges on legalization there as well. The actual entire market on the legal front is actually, it's still growing rapidly because there's a huge illicit market in California. And that's even where you have the brands and you have the product types and you have a super competitive environment with super discerning consumers. What's happened in California is different for a variety of reasons, because it was sort of an industry that's been around in different shades of gray for around 2 decades, slowly transitioning into a legal industry. Whereas in Canada, we have this super regulated industry, arguably over-regulated in some ways, that's transitioning into adult use and really taking the most go slow approach possible, which I think is in our values as Canadians. Like, I think you look at a place like Colorado.
You say we're slow?
Yeah. Well, I think we're trying to learn from lessons of other people who have gotten some things right and some things wrong. And I think that's the right approach. Like, I'm actually fundamentally for a lot of what Canada is doing. I just think from a business-facing perspective, it's going to be very challenging for the licensed producers from day one to be able to generate significant amounts of cash or even revenue. But if you look at the stated objectives from the government, it's really around more clean supply chain, diverting youth away from children, and ensuring that the black market gets eradicated.
Yep.
Some of the things that we've discussed already today would lean to, maybe it's not going to achieve getting the black market eradicated, but they're trying to just do the best to have sort of a conservative approach towards legalization. And from what I'm hearing from thought leaders is that a lot of this overly restricted stuff on, let's say, branding and marketing, as well as edibles and drinkables, which has already come out from the government, I think that will be relaxed over time. It's just maybe not a day one kind of thing that vape pens will be allowed or edibles will be allowed, but I think they'll be part of the program with time.
Right, that's interesting. So Canada Royalty focused on California exclusively going forward?
I wouldn't say that. I think for us as a company, about 6 months ago in the office, we realized that everything was a shiny opportunity. We were a global cannabis investor, so anyone who had any cannabis idea would come to us. And there were a lot of good opportunities because there's a lot of great entrepreneurs coming into the space right now. A lot of seasoned like pharma and CPG and people from big tobacco or alcohol. So there's a lot of good ideas coming into the space. But for us as a business and a strategy, we really wanted to sort of narrow in and focus on California because, one, it's the largest market in the world.
Right.
Two, they have a very sophisticated consumer products goods industry generally. Like if we look at brands in what we wear or the movies we watch or television, it just shapes a lot of consumption. And just generally the cannabis market there is very competitive. You have discerning consumers, you have thousands of licensed businesses, and you're working hard to earn market share there. And our sort of management hypothesis is that brands and products that are able to win in California will be able to win on a global scale.
Interesting. Well, that's fascinating. So from your perspective as in the position you're in, apart from your role as legal counsel for Canada Royalty, would you say that the U.S. market is more attractive from a regulatory standpoint, notwithstanding the obvious size differential? Would you say that, I guess it's all sort of fractionalized according to state.
Yeah.
But in general, do you think from a business operator's perspective, do you find the U.S. preferable to Canada, even though Canada's got this federal policy ongoing?
Yeah, it really depends on your strategy. So if your strategy as an operator is we need to build as much space as possible and have as big a facility as possible to do as much production as possible, because that's what's ultimately going to drive consumer behavior. You can do that in Canada, you can do that in the US, but in the US, as you mentioned, it's hyper-segmented. For us, our strategy isn't just to build the biggest production capacity possible. Again, if you look at wine or beer companies, they might not even be involved on their own production. What we really think it's about is owning the consumer, and that comes down to really good products on what's inside, so the R&D and delivery systems that consumers want. It's what's outside from a branding and marketing perspective, and really being able to pull consumers into you or push them towards your product as opposed to someone else's.
Right.
And that's sort of the focus for us, and we think, why not compete in the most competitive environment in the world? Because if we can win there, if you look at the branding and packaging in Canada, like I don't see how you build a global cannabis brand around, I'm sure you've seen some of the packaging that's come out. It's not appealing from a consumer-facing perspective. So I think there's going to be challenges, especially with a Canadian-only strategy, to build a real adult use strategy. Not to name names, but when you come out with a logo or 3 logos and a name, there's a lot more than that in coming out with a recreational brand, especially in today's day and age, especially with consuming at the millennial level. You really need something that's authentic and that speaks to consumers, and that's built with real sales and real markets. So that's sort of like our view right now.
Interesting. All right, Michael, I'm going to leave it there for now. I really appreciate you coming in today. We will come back to you because you're obviously a fountain of information here, and I really enjoyed the chat. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
We'll see you soon. Up next, of course, will be the fabulous and incredibly talented Edward Milewski, better known as Ed the Head, or my favorite, Special Ed. Ed, where are you? Where is Ed? Anyways, while we figure out what we've done with our Special Ed, we will take another look at the Canadian Securities Index, the Cannabis Index rather here. Canada Royalty was just our guest. Here's a company that's used to have a diversified focus, still somewhat diversified, but is moving more towards California, which I didn't realize. Probably Mark Lustig has told me that 1,000 times, and it just bounces off my head like a Nerf ball. But here is now, ladies and gentlemen, round of applause for the wonderful and talented Edward Milewski, Special Ed.
You're making me blush. You're making me blush.
Ed, you don't blush. Come on, you got to do a lot more.
Oh, I got a tan. That's why I got a tan, you see.
I thought maybe you've been drinking.
I will be later.
I'm sure we will. Ed, where do you think we're going to be drinking later today?
Well, we're probably going to start at the King Eddie.
The King Edward, not for the Stockhouse Martini.
King Eddie.
The King Edward. Oh, this is your hotel.
As a matter of fact, nobody really knows. I just revealed that today for the first time.
You're one of those guys who walks around, dressed like you're dressed, and you wouldn't know it to look at you, but you're actually very affluent. I think I just
did you say effluent with E?
No. Affluent with an A.
I'm sure you.
With an A.
You're kind words. You're very graceful.
Graceful?
Gracious.
I was going to say, graceful. I've not been
full of grace.
Graceful.
Full of grace.
In fact, I got caught dancing on at the Hall & Oates show the other night. And
really?
The security guard actually asked me to leave because apparently I was dancing too spastically. But
really?
It's gone a little bit. Yeah, people are really criticizing my dancing moves on Twitter and Instagram and comparing them to Elaine Bennis from Seinfeld. Do you remember how she danced?
Elaine, yeah.
Now that was graceful.
Yeah. Wow. Did they actually ask you to leave the premises?
No. What happened is the security guard came up to me and said, "You can't be here." I was dancing in the aisle about 5 chairs away, but I was, I'm a bit of an enthusiastic dancer, so I was like, I'm not going to knock people in the head. It's tight, it's a full show, and I thought I'll just go dance in the aisle. There's nobody there. The security guard comes up and says, "You can't dance here. You want to dance? You got to dance in front of your own chair. Get out of here." So I grab the security guy, who's this big black guy, and I start dancing with him. He's not impressed, and clearly does not want to dance.
He does not want to dance.
And suggests that I should actually get back to my seat or get the hell out of there, which at that point I was just so deflated by the whole experience that I chose the latter, and I got the out of there.
Did anybody follow you out there?
I was with Alan, and he left with me.
Okay.
In support.
Okay.
The show of
there you
support.
go. There you go.
There you go. So Ed, you followed
Hall & Oates didn't stop performing?
They didn't. I don't think they even saw what was going on, though I think they would have, because it felt like I was the only one dancing, and honestly, I mean, I was trying to get the whole crowd dancing. That was my
right. Sure.
Anyways,
but did you like the show up until that point?
The show was well. I'm going to be honest with you, Ed. I saw Hall & Oates in Toronto 20 some odd years ago at Massey Hall.
Right.
They were 20 some odd years younger, and had played those songs who knows how many thousands of times fewer. So let's just say that the enthusiasm and the energy put into those shows 20 some odd years ago was markedly different from the energy put into the show that I saw the other night. Right. So, but
well, these guys can't be spring chickens anymore, right?
I think they got to be in their 70s. Yeah. I'm pretty sure my mother was the first one I heard listening.
Now, do they have gray hair and?
Well,
I guess they
actually Daryl Hall, John Oates, right? John Oates is got the darker complexion. You could see a lot of silver in his hair.
Yeah.
Daryl Hall is the blonde guy, and he looks like he's either a big fan of the L'Oreal or he's maintaining his natural color.
Right. He discovered the fountain of youth, perhaps.
The fountain of youth. He was drinking from the fountain of youth. The fountain of youth. You heard it there first. Anyways, have you been following the market today?
Yeah, I've been watching the cannabis stocks. As like for instance, we discussed a lot of things yesterday. Mm-hmm. It doesn't seem like we're getting a lot of follow through today, and waiting for the vote. I got to think they may sell off on news. Regardless of the news, I think they're going to sell off on news just based on the technical action that I see today.
Okay.
It could be wrong.
Let's pull up the 1 month chart. Ed, what are you seeing there?
Well,
oh, actually, I don't have candlesticks up.
Yeah,
so
no, I'd like to see. I'd like to. The candlesticks tell you so much more.
Right. Okay.
They tell you so much more.
I would say, tell you what, you talk while I figure out how to pull the candlesticks up.
That's not. Well, look, like a weed, for instance, is down $1 today. I'm sure. You know, they're trading. They seem to be trading in a narrower range.
Yeah.
You know, I've noticed that.
So what do you mean narrow range in terms of
high low today?
Okay.
A high low today. So the candle wouldn't be like when a candle. You know, you get the opening price.
Yeah.
The low trade, the high trade, and the closing price.
Okay.
And so you may see a lot of candles that open and close around the same price, which means it's sort of a neutral date.
Huh. Oh, I see. And what is what? So what? I mean, you know my attitude towards technical analysis.
I know. But look at there's a lot of. It certainly tells you a lot. I mean, the first thing that tells you that something's moving is the price. So you look at the chart, right?
Right.
Look for volume.
Right.
And I don't really follow a lot of these things that closely. I think I'm going to start though.
Yeah.
Because I think everybody's interested in it.
Yeah. So you don't own any cannabis stocks?
Well, I do. I own. Full disclosure. I own some High Hampton.
Do you own some High Hampton?
Hi. So am I.
Hi. What's High Hampton doing? Where do they work? What do they do? Where do they operate? What kind of operation is this?
They got property in Coachella County in California.
California.
Yeah, and I think they're trying to acquire a company that has some edibles, a chocolate company.
Right.
And I've experienced that product, by the way.
Oh, have you?
Packs a lot of punch.
It doesn't?
Packs a lot of punch.
Didn't knock you on your butt, did it? Were you able to function?
Well, to tell you the truth, I didn't read the instructions. And
they come with instructions?
Well, it's
besides just open and eat?
Half a square.
Okay.
And I think I had 2 or 3 squares.
Oh.
And I kind of remember saying, could someone please help me to the cab?
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Oh, it was.
Yeah, well, that's interesting.
Yeah, there's a word in the English language. It's zowie. It's a real word. I used it in a Scrabble game once, and they challenged it. And much to their chagrin, it's a word. And I got a big ZOWIE, and it basically, if you understand the word zowie, that's how I felt.
No kidding. So zowie was the effect or the taste?
It was. The taste is.
You're focused mostly on the effect here.
We want effect here. But the taste, apparently one of the founders of the company, I think the company is called Cali Gold. Cali Gold. CALIGOLD.
Okay.
And he's got some experience in making chocolate.
Okay.
And so, yeah, reasonably tasty, but again, that's sort of a subordinate purpose.
Right.
You're not going to go buy chocolate bars laced with cannabis.
Yeah,
if you just want them for chocolate, right?
No,
anyway.
Well, you might.
Well, we can fool a lot of people.
Yeah.
We got somebody got for dessert. We got some chocolate bars here, people. Get ready.
You might get lucky and pick a good one.
Put your seatbelt on. Anyway.
Zowie.
Zowie. What a name, eh?
That would be a good name.
That would be a good name.
So High Hampton, what's the...
And so they're going to, they just tried to raise, I think, $12 million, and they got 19. And that, much to their...
That doesn't happen. Can I have $12, please? No, have 19.
Did they say no? No.
Of course
they didn't say no.
No, 9.
And 9. Yeah.
9. Okay, so they're building...
I think there was some pretty interesting... I think there's probably some overlap. Some of the money from some of the other pot companies might have found its way in.
Okay.
Or some of the players.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of cross-pollination in the board level and even
absolutely,
at the,
and people are being, very thinking consolidation and you see that everywhere.
Do you think there's a wave of consolidation coming to this industry? I mean, beyond the wave that we're already sort of seeing?
It has to be, for sure. I think a lot of people are in this to make some money and pass it on.
You bet. Are you following what's going on with the vote in the Senate, Bill C-45?
Well, I tried to find out when they do this. I tried to Google what time does this happen.
Did you vote today?
Well, no, because my polling station is in London, Ontario, and I
that's a ways to go to cast a vote.
I had an important engagement today at 3:30,
and here you are.
And I made a decision. So you know what?
Wow.
Please,
okay.
I hope I don't get.
How about I vote for you?
Why don't you? Why don't you?
I think that'd be.
Well, but we don't. Maybe we're not voting the same way, though.
Well, that's quite possible. I kind of doubt we are.
Yeah.
Do you know how many candidates were on the ballot where I voted today? 10.
10 candidates.
10 candidates.
Wow.
I didn't know we even still had a Green Party in Ontario. There was a party, though, that I thought that you probably would have voted for because it was the Special Needs Party. And you're special ed.
Special ed, special needs.
Does that not follow?
And ED is in the word need.
And it's educational.
Wow.
Okay.
Educational. Educational.
This is going sideways.
I'm flummoxed. ED on the end. Flummoxed. There's a good word.
Yeah. Canna royalty is and has always been sex. Chris Perry tells me. Chris Perry, do you know Chris Perry?
You and I interviewed Chris Perry out of your home 2-3 years ago.
That's
3 years
right.
ago. I was just about to go to either Dubai or Zurich with Michael Kraft. Remember Michael?
Dubai or Zurich? Which is it going to be? I don't know. Should we go to Dubai?
What do you want to do? Well, what did we do last month?
So Chris Perry is going to be on our show tomorrow. Do you know
same time, same place?
He's going to be on at 4:20. 4:20. Get it? Ah! Zowie. No? Okay.
4:20.
I'm moving a little quick for you.
Yeah,
here.
4:20. What the significance? Is that April the 20th? No.
4:20 was it's April 20th. It's International Cannabis Day. It's. Do you know where 4:20 comes from?
No, I don't.
Do you know where most people think it comes from?
No, I don't.
Neither do I. But I know where it comes from.
4:20.
Yes, 4:20. Do you know what the term 4:20 means? 4:20, before legalization happened, was the term meaning that you would say, if you wanted to go get high with somebody, smoke a joint, you'd say, hey, 4:20 or 4:20 friendly. Do you smoke? So instead of saying, do you smoke weed, they'd say, hey, 4:20. 4:20.
Because that was going to be the date that.
No, that was.
What does that mean?
That was. What time did you get kicked out? What time did school end for you in primary school?
3:30.
In primary school?
What's primary school?
Well, grade
one? Yeah, 3:30.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so where I went to school.
Don't tell me it ended at 4:20.
It ended at 4:20. And that was in Niagara Falls, Ontario.
So my 4:20 would be 3:30.
You'd be 3:30, and nobody would know what you're talking about except maybe people.
And what about the 2:30? 2:30. That's the time you go to the dentist. 2:30. 2:30.
Oh, 2:30. 2:30. Right over.
I said to my. They asked me what time do you want to come in. I said, what time do you have? She said 2:30. I said, you're right.
Okay. It's going to be one of those.
Okay.
It's going to be one of those.
All right.
Ed, where are we going to be at 7 o'clock tonight?
Take me out to the ball game.
Take me out to the.
Right.
How do the words to that go? Do you know the words to that? They don't actually sing that at our ball game, do they? We're going to see the Blue Jays tonight, aren't we?
Some cracker, Jack.
Yeah.
Cracker.
I don't know.
I don't.
Anyways, Chris Perry's going to come on tomorrow. Today we have Jason Spatafora, who is the Wolf of Weed Street. Do you know Jason?
The Wolf of Weed Street, not the weed of Wolf Street.
The
Wolf of Weed Street.
The Wolf
no,
of
I don't
Weed
know
Street.
Jason. No, but I hear he's got a tremendous following.
He has an incredible following. He's got the same amount of. He's got more Twitter followers than me, the bastard. Anyways, by about a couple hundred.
Really,
he's one of the. He's a big shareholder in TGOD. And so he's going to
now
talk
TGOD
to us
today.
TGOD.
Now TGOD was the last I looked, it was down a tad.
Well, about time. Can't go up forever.
Well, I know. I mean, you know, I'm sure people are starting to plow in, thinking they can't. They want to get in and get out, but that's when it gets dicey.
Right. Well, the whole market's been a little bit dicey today.
What is TGOD at? Is that up to date?
Is it? You mean, does our website work today? Well, you know what? They fixed some parts of it, but some parts of it not. But guess what? The charts are working for the smart lookup. The Green Organic Dutchman. Let's see. It's going to take a second because.
And is that a live quote? Down 6 cents.
Yeah. So this is 20 minutes delayed. So yeah, down 6 cents on 3.4 million shares traded.
Right.
But look at that chart, eh? I mean.
I know.
We've got to get these guys to. We've got to get our team to put candlesticks in by default, don't you think?
Candlesticks tell you so much more.
Why would anybody want a chart without candlesticks?
I don't know.
I wonder. How can you see without candlelight? It's so unromantic.
Right.
Yeah, anyway, so it leveled off today. You know what? And if you look at the, let's see here, I'm going to try to do this without goofing it up. Whoa!
Kind of like to know what the range would be today, because
well, so let's look at the
usually after a big move, if you get a day where there's
there's today. That's today.
Yeah.
So it started off strong.
Yeah.
Then dropped.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah.
At this part, it hit a low of 65.42. Says on zero volume. That's obviously not working correctly. But yeah, so you know, if you look at me, I look at this chart and I see uncertainty.
I see distribution there.
Distribution. Ooh. Wow. That's boy, I'm going to have to get out the dictionary for that one.
As opposed to accumulation.
Oh.
Well, you know what? Again, it's such a short time frame. It's sometimes it's difficult. You need a lot of information to make some of these comments. It's only been public for what? A week? No, 3 weeks maybe. 3 weeks. 4 weeks.
Yeah.
You know Mike Blady, don't you?
I do know
Mike's a good friend of mine. He's taking
big golfer.
He's taking me to Scotland in a week and a half
to go golfing.
Duh.
That's going to be incredible.
And then drink whiskey.
No kidding, eh?
Yeah. And so he's involved in a company that's going public here very soon, maybe next week. Mm-hmm. G-Tech.
Yeah, G-Tech. Actually.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see if they can mirror that kind of performance. I mean, for the listeners out there, if you want to try something, maybe you buy some G-Tech when it comes out, because if that doubles right away.
Ed, are you promoting a stock? You got stock in this thing? Or
no,
that was a pretty blatant tell right there.
Maybe
if you got nothing better to do, buy this stock.
No, but I'm saying, look I didn't buy TGOD. I thought.
No, I didn't buy it either.
I thought, well, but you could have bought all you wanted under $4.
Yeah, well, that was.
And here it is. It doubled for you. So I'm just saying.
That was the thing.
What's more likely? Another well-run company, and I think there's some pretty good management in G-Tech. And apparently there's good management in TGOD. So you think, if this one doubled, is it going to double again, or is it more likely that a new one could double?
That's a good point.
I'm just throwing it out there for the listener.
What was the last financing of G-Tech done at?
I believe the financing that's going to take this public is going to be, I don't even know. I think it's $1.50.
$1.50.
$1.50, and I don't know how many shares are going to be. So I don't know what the market cap is. So
we'll get that Mr. Blady fellow in here.
Yeah, well, we could probably call him right now. I got his number.
Hello, Mike.
No.
No, we're not going to talk to Mike today because he's not yet public, but we will get around to him.
Okay.
So how long are you going to be in Scotland for, Ed?
Not long. I'm going on Saturday.
Sit in that chair if you're in Scotland.
I'll be talking to you from the old course at St. Andrews.
We're going to Skype from the golf course at St. Andrews in Scotland.
Yes.
Well, that should be an experience.
Yeah.
Huh. That Scottish golf club, are you going to be drinking scotch there?
I'll be drinking the whiskey. Ed Milewski will be drinking whiskey.
Boy, oh boy, there's a song in there somewhere, isn't there?
Oh, there'll be some
good times. Some good times will be had by all. You know, the small cap cannabis composite index.
Now, what's it doing today? It's probably slightly down.
It's slightly down, 0.26%.
Yeah.
And you know, it's the same patterns more or less as the larger index.
And an observation again, because I've been in this game for a long time. When you have a quite a big move, like we've just seen in the cannabis space, and then you get a day where there's not a lot of movement, the next day is usually not very good.
Right.
That happens quite a bit.
Ed, are you turning your back on the audience on purpose? Is that what
I was just taking a little nip out of my flask.
I see. We don't want you to look at Ed because he's actually drinking over there.
Yeah, just a little nip.
Of
the whiskey.
Yes.
The whiskey.
The whiskey. Yeah. Can we get some whiskey in here? No drinking on the set, Ed.
No,
apparently that's unallowed.
But water's okay.
Water's fine.
Yeah.
Water's fine. You got to stay hydrated.
Stay hydrated.
Yeah, so...
Like hydro, what's the one there?
Hydropothecary.
Hydropothecary. Say that 5 times real fast.
Say it once fast. Like, that's a tongue twister right there.
I know, that's... Yeah.
Hydropothecary is not on our small cap cannabis comp. Oh, maybe it is down here.
What is... Now, is that... Okay, okay, fine, look at...
Oh, I know why it's not on the small cap cannabis comp. Is it because it's over $1 billion now? Let's go see.
It's a bigger company. I think it's...
Let's look at the index page.
Oh, it's well over $1 billion, I believe.
Really? No, it's not. It's not on the...
It should be. I'm pretty sure it's the... Isn't it
What's
the big
symbol? THCX, right?
That's correct.
Let's check this out.
I'm going to say the market cap's $1 billion.
$1 billion. Well, here is the... it's trading at 518. That's a nice looking chart.
Yeah.
Did you ever own any Hydropothecary?
No.
No.
No. No. No.
You didn't like it? You don't like French people? What's the matter with you? You got something against the French? Anyways,
you can't own them all.
Really? Well,
what do you show for the market cap there, young
you know,
fella?
this is just noticing that we don't actually show the market cap.
Do you want me to look at my phone and tell you?
No, you know what?
Well,
you know what I'm going to do? Watch this, Ed. Anybody who's watching right now who can tell me what the market of Hydropothecary is, please enter it into the Midas Letter Facebook window or the YouTube window.
I've told a couple of people they should watch the show today, so maybe there'll be at least...
Cameron Day says 987 million. You know what's funny about that?
I said around $1 billion.
Cameron Day is sitting right over there. Cameron, wave. Don't worry, nobody can see you.
Thanks, Cameron, for that info. There you go.
People don't understand the vast audience of, or the vast support team that actually makes this all happen behind the scenes. You have no idea. It's not just me and Ed here putting all this together.
No. And this is live. This is raw, people.
This is raw. Midas Letter RAW. Ed, remember I told you that on our first day that we did this show, we had 33 viewers. And then yesterday we did it, we had double that amount. Guess how many we have today? Right now on YouTube, we have 47. We're getting there. We're not quite CNBC yet. No, we're not. You're not Jim Cramer. We're not Mad Money. And on Facebook, we have 12. That's a grand total of 59, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
Yeah, but anyways, so there you go. But that's live. But I bet you when Jason Spatafora comes on in, like, what is it, 13 minutes, I bet you our audience numbers will suddenly shoot up. What do you think?
Yeah. Well... he's got quite the following.
Yeah.
What was he doing, let's say, before the cannabis sector got hot, for example?
That's a great question. We'll ask him. I don't know. I mean, I've actually haven't ever met Jason in person. I don't.
You must know. Like, I can't imagine how many people you know.
Ed, the number of people that I can know is getting smaller and smaller. So you know what? I run into guys all the time and I say, have we met?
Yeah, and they say, yes, we have.
They say, and that's like, oh, it must have been years ago, or either that or I'm losing my mind. And it's actually the latter. I am losing my mind.
Have we met? And they say, yes, we have, uncle.
Yeah, you know what? This is what a career of smoking dope will do to you.
Somebody was saying now that marijuana has unbelievable... that they're talking about cannabis being a good...
Spit it out, Edward.
I'm going to try and spit this out. Give me some whiskey.
Give me some whiskey over here. Whiskey.
No. You know how there's this problem with opioids?
What problem? There's a problem?
Well,
the only problem is you can't get enough of them.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
I need some opioids now.
I'm twitching here.
Can I get
Pass me some opioids, please?
Actually, I can't wait till they start making wine gum opiates. Now there's a dangerous proposition.
Right.
Then I'll be completely.
So you're saying that there's a solution for opioid dependency with cannabinoids, not cannabinoids.
Cannabinoids.
Can of worms. No, with
Spit it out, Edward. Can we get the whiskey? Ringer's Lactate 500 cc.
Cannabis solution for opioid addiction.
Yes. Do you know what? Do you know who? Oh, damn! I can't.
I think it's Canopy Growth is funding something for that or something.
Yeah. Do you know who Steve Goldner is?
No.
So Steve Goldner is the gentleman who actually created the liquid formulation of methadone at Mifflin Labs in 1980 something, 70 something, anyways. the liquid formulation of methadone, and they sold Mifflin Labs to Johnson & Johnson for $300 million. Do you know what methadone is made out of? Opium. It's an opiate, but it's another form of an opiate that's supposed to be, I don't know, I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, it's like saying, we don't
why would you do methadone when you could just buy the real thing?
Yeah, it is cheaper.
It's cheaper.
Probably cheaper.
And now it's more effective than ever.
Is it?
I think we're maybe making
I've never done heroin.
I've
just full disclosure, I've never done heroin.
I smoked it once.
You got any?
No, it was a long time ago, but you know, I'm the kind of guy
do you
who
think
has to try
that, okay, let's just say, do you think if they get this cannabis rolling, that maybe they'll want to start to make heroin legal?
Well, you know what's funny, in Portugal, everything is legal.
Come on.
Did you know that? Portugal decriminalized everything because they came at it from the standpoint that compassion and treatment is the way to approach drug addiction, not prosecution and incarceration.
You're right. Well, how do you make money, though? By, you know what it costs to keep someone in a prison? Like a lot of money.
You know what it costs to ship a key of blow from Colombia? I think it's actually cheaper than keeping somebody in prison. But anyways.
I heard that it's numbered the other day, $325,000 a year for one person in prison.
$325,000. Must have a pretty good lifestyle.
That's $6,000 a week, like room and board.
Like what?
And you don't
what kind of place can you get for $6 grand a week?
I don't answer mail. No more tax returns. Nothing. Simple. If it was co-ed, it might be worth it.
This is crazy. Just crazy, anyway. Ed. You know, there's a funny comment here from a guy named. Where did it go? I saw it a second ago. It was from Mitch Adams. You know Mitch Adams on the West Coast?
No.
Oh, Mitch Adams, one of my old buddies.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen him in forever, but there was a time where we saw each other a lot.
You were sort of compadres.
We were in. He's in the securities business too, and we were, let's just say, enthusiastic recreational alcohol users. I'm speaking for myself.
Yeah.
Mitch, no. Sober as a judge. Me, I'm talking about me.
You like, what was this?
Anyways, you know what he said? He called these dope chairs.
Dope chairs.
What, you don't get it? What are you, dope? We're talking about dope.
I know.
Boy, oh boy, I don't know. Our humor might need some work.
Well,
some people think we're funny, but some people don't. Okay, so let's see. It is now 3:57. We got 7 minutes till we have the Wolf of Weed Street.
Okay, and the market's going to close in 3 minutes, so maybe we should just scan the major ones and just take a look at what they're doing.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing, Ed. We are on a 20-minute delay.
Oh.
So you know what time we actually start to look at the
20 after 4.
4:20. Which we should have had Jason on at 4:20.
You mentioned Portugal.
Yeah.
You know, apparently most of the I think most of the cork in the world comes from Portugal.
The cork. Boy, we could have some fun with that.
Yeah, like
put a cork in it, will you?
Yeah. And Portugal, like that's where you get your port.
No, come on.
Isn't it?
Portugal. Yeah, Portugal is where port is made.
Portugal.
Is that why it's called Portugal?
I don't know.
Isn't Suzanne from Portugal?
That's Suzanne.
Suzanne. Where's the name for Portugal come from?
Can you buy good port, Portugal?
Portugal, the city of Port in northern Portugal.
What? Come on, the city of Port in northern.
And you know what port is? Do you know what port is? Do you know what port is?
Do you know what port is?
Yeah, and you know how why they created it?
Well, to drink.
Well, but apparently the British, that there was some war between the Brits and Spain or something like that, and they all had they had this wine, and the Brits didn't think it was strong enough, so they put some brandy in it, and they fortified the wine, and it's fortified wine. That's what I'm going to get at here. Port is fortified wine.
Well, so why is it not called fort?
Like fortify.
Well, why didn't it be called fort?
Fort.
Can I get a glass of fort, please? I mean, it makes more sense than port, even though Portugal was where they made it, fortified it.
They fortified it.
And,
they strengthened it. They gave it some. After you drink port, you want to say zowie. Just saying.
Zowie.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow. There's a guy here. who says that he'd like us to talk about Afria.
Okay.
What do you think about Afria? Do you know?
Is it the second biggest one? Is it the second biggest?
No, Aurora is the second biggest one. Afria would be the third largest by market cap, I believe. Now, I don't really know. So you know what I'm going to do, Ed? I'm going to go look at the Midas Letter Cannabis Index and find out.
Now, does that rank them by market cap automatically? Do you have that sort of screening tool there?
Oh, Ed, you have no idea. Clicking on cannabis to get to the cannabis indexes, I quickly search the screen for the cannabis large cap
now
index.
You sound like that guy that does the Travago commercial.
You put your thing in here, you do your thing,
press and click, and
that commercial drives me insane.
But this guy has made a career out of this. How does
Guess
he do
what
it?
the third largest company is?
MedRelief.
MedRelief. So number two and three are about to come number two. But do you think when MedRelief melds into Aurora, that Aurora is actually going to become the largest by market cap? If the prices were to stay the same right now, $40 for weed and $10 for, call it, Aurora, they're going to have 1 billion shares out when that deal closes. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 1 billion, I think. I'm not entirely sure about that.
1 billion?
A billion. Billion! 1 billion, Edward!
That's something, remember Carl Sagan? Billions.
Do I remember Carl Sagan? No. I was thinking more of Mike Myers. Billions!
Yeah, well, Carl Sagan used to be on the Johnny Carson show all the time and say, there are billions and billions of stars in our galaxy, and there's billions and billions and billions of galaxies in the universe.
There are? And we think this is the only one that's inhabited?
Oh yeah.
Come on. Come on.
Yeah, and we made,
come on. I don't believe it.
And somebody snapped their fingers and made it all just for us.
Somebody? I thought it was a Big Bang.
Well, I'm talking about the creationist perspective.
Oh, your little imaginary friend with the beard. You go over to his house on Sundays and you sorry, thank you, sorry, thank you.
Drink some blood.
Anyways, let's not go down that road. I have religious people in my family. And it's not that I think they're insane. Suzanne just crossed herself walking by. Is that because you're Portuguese? How about, oh no, I was going to say something super, yeah, right.
Don't go there.
We don't want any #MeToo action here, Suzanne.
Don't go there.
No, but Suzanne knows I'm joking about everything, so we don't have that.
The cannabis is down 2.6%.
Jesus, should we call the cops? You know who I had in here talking about the cops? I had the former superintendent of the Vancouver Police in here. Cash Heed is his name.
Cash Heed.
Cash Heed. You better heed what he says. He's going to cash you out. I didn't get to lay that one on him. Boy, that's a little bon mot.
Now, Cash Heed. How do you spell Cash Heed?
K-A-S-H was his first name. H-E-E-D was his last name. No, this guy was the superintendent of cops. He started policing when he was 21.
Would he be like the chief of police or the superintendent?
Yeah. Superintendent. Wow. He was a special constable. He was a number
responsibility,
of things.
Right?
Yeah, and then he was a politician. Super nice guy. We had a long chat today, but he told me. So you know we're working on this film, O Cannabis, and in the film we have this section where we feature.
Is that a takeoff on O Canada, O Cannabis?
Come on, Ed. It's under wraps here. We're not supposed to know. Anyways, so why am I talking about it? Good question. I don't know. Never mind. Back to Afria.
You could go O can and then canna and then have bis and ada, you know. And people would say, well, which one is it? O cannabis or O Canada?
What?
Over.
Zowie! Zowie is going to be our new escape word. Ed, guess what time it is?
Time to make a call.
No. 4:03. That means 2 minutes till the wolf of Weed Street. Sorry, Jason. We will get it right by the time you're on. We got 2 minutes to get it right.
And is Weed Street Bay Street? I guess it is. Well, no, because Howe Street. It's not just Toronto. It's
not just for breakfast anymore.
No.
Men, yes, but I like it too. No.
No, I just bought some Irish Spring deodorant.
You did not.
Swear to God.
Does that song run through your head every time you pick it up and put it on?
No, I know a few Irish people.
Nothing wrong with that.
You know, they're no stranger to the grape, I'll tell you.
They like their whiskey.
Yeah. The story goes the weather's so bad in Ireland that they just sit around on chairs and drink Guinness.
Wasn't it Sigmund Freud said the only people on earth who can't be psychoanalyzed are the Irish. You haven't heard that one?
Well, I believe it.
Yeah.
Oh, I believe that one.
That's rich, isn't it?
Yeah. There's only apparently only 4 million people living in Ireland. I didn't.
4 million? 4 million.
Maybe
Irishmen.
I'm wrong. Maybe it's 6 million, but it's
I'm
not
half Irish.
Maybe you should be living there.
All right.
Half the time.
All right. You know what time it is, Ed?
Okay, what time is it?
It's 4:05. You know what that means?
Let's make a call.
He's going to call us. This is the Wolf of Weed Street.
Okay, Jason.
Jason Spatafora.
Can you spell his last name for me?
Spatafora. Spatafora.
Spatafora. Spelled like it's pronounced.
Sounds like it's pronounced.
Sounds
like it's spelled. Yeah. Anyways,
okay.
Do you know what Jason does?
I believe he's a letter writer.
Ding, 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 ding. You got it. He writes the Wolf. He writes. Actually, you know what? He publishes marijuanastocks.com. And here he is, Jason. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
Oh, we are rocking the free world over here. This is my good friend Ed Milewski.
Jason, pleasure to meet you.
Likewise.
And are you in Florida right now?
I am.
Yeah.
And what's the weather doing in Florida right now? Just out of curiosity, is it like a bazillion degrees?
It's hot, but you know, an hour ago, if you called, we might have lost power. So we just had a storm.
Oh, no kidding.
And they can be very ferocious and very brief, right?
The weather.
Yeah, it was quick.
Yeah, here to talk about the weather.
Moving right along.
Jason, you're a shareholder of the Green Organic Dutchman, are you not?
I am.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me, first of all, tell us what is it that you actually do in this great ecosystem we call the cannabis industry?
Sure. So I started out as just a retail investor, like everybody else. Before this, I worked as a disaster consultant, going into natural disasters and worst case scenarios. And in between disasters, I started, investing and got into this after watching the Attorney General give a speech on state rights, and thought, whoa, okay, pot stock's a thing. And so I went to this really junky website at the time. It was marijuanastocks.com. And I saw a company that was payment processing. And I was like, oh, great. Got like $5 of it. 2 days later, it goes up 50%. 2 days after that, it tanks. And I was just like, well, what the hell just happened? I'd never bought a penny stock in my life. But I knew that there was something to the volatility. So, I mean, really, that was kind of my trial by fire into the industry.
Wow, no kidding. So your disaster skills came in handy.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so now you write you write a newsletter called The Wolf of Wall Street, if I'm not mistaken. The Wolf of Weed Street,
well,
sorry.
No. I haven't written that letter in about 4 years. So what we did was we bought marijuanastocks.com and merged the database into that site. The site's grandfathered in since 2009. We looked at it as collect data. I saw this intrinsic value should legalization happen in the United States. So, our model was organic. So we've never said, we don't say, go out and buy this. This is going to the moon. We basically just present information and take it from there, writing, stuff going on in the industry and everything in between.
Right. Huh, interesting. So tell me, what attracted you to the Green Organic Dutchman?
Honestly, it was the management. Rob Anderson, who I had known just through him bringing Organogram and Emblem public, and then some of the guys that came along, Brett Allen, Dave Doherty, Danny Brody, all great guys. They have a great team. So at first it was just, okay, look, these are good guys, and like any stock, you bet on the jockey, not the horse at first. But then what really got exciting was when they announced their strategic alliance with Eaton Energy.
Interesting. And tell us about that relationship. We don't really know about it. Do you know about it, Ed?
No, but one thing I heard I thought was interesting is that the shares that are trading now are only the shares that were issued in the IPO. Is that correct?
Correct.
Huh.
So if you bought, say, shares early on as a private company, you don't have the opportunity to sell those shares at this time.
I did buy shares in the open market because I'm not crazy. So we could get to it. So, I heard you guys talking about it before and, making the comparison with G-Tech. But, first thing was, all right, let's just talk about energy. That way I don't digress and lose my train of thought. So what was really interesting, and a lot of the market missed this, was access to power and automation when you have a high level grow on a massive scale, kind of like Aurora Sky, which is built by Larson, which is now part of Aurora. Energy in Ontario, for example, every LP that's operating is spending about 13 cents per kilowatt hour, which is a lot. So when you look at their burn rates per month, you're talking about 50% of that burn is just energy. Now, with TGOD's to do, and then also got a partnership with Hamilton Electric or something like that. I forget the name off the top of my head. Their cost per energy is like 4 cents a kilowatt hour versus 13. Does that make sense?
Sorry, to ask him something. Can you guys switch to the raw? Something, Ed.
All right. So how many shares are outstanding in this company?
From the start, it was about 35 million shares in the float. But what you have to factor in is that Aurora, through their deal with TGOD to have 17.62% of the company, had to up that on a pro rata basis. So about another 8 million comes off the float at we're looking at about 27 million shares in the float. And, what caused this run was just people understanding it, but then also the ETFs taking their position in the company.
Yeah, it's been dramatic performer, and I understand that the insiders are escrowed for what, 4 years? Is that right?
40-month escrow, 36-month options vest.
Okay.
And the CEO makes $1 a year in salary.
Wow. Yeah, that's impressive. Another question I had: how much did they just raise on this IPO?
$115 million. It was the largest IPO in pot stock history.
Yeah. Okay. Final question, Jason. What do you think is going to happen when all of the shares start to come out in November on TGOD? Is there a risk that there's a big sell-off, or is it likely that the strong share price is going to make people sell conservatively?
No, look, I think there's two schools of thought. Look, it's going to pull back. It's going to happen. It's being ready for it. I don't think it's going to be dramatic because, you have to look at TGOD on a longer time horizon. If we look at Canopy, when they started out, I think they came out at like $4.72. They dropped 42% their IPO day and then went sideways for the next 6 months. It wasn't until they showed that they had all this money that things started getting crazy. Same with Aurora. So I think people are looking at this because of their cost of production, in terms of energy and the higher margin for organic cannabis, as well as you know, what they're looking to do with consumer packaged goods, which is why they brought all those execs that built up cot. You know, I think people are looking at this as as almost like buying Canopy 4 years ago, except it's not coming out of the gates with like the Hershey factory and all the, you know, bumps and bruises in an earlier market. So, you know, I think, yes, people are going to take profit, but I also think that people are ready for that and going to scoop that up. And to be honest, it really won't matter, because if history repeats itself, you're looking at a new all-time high in December, January anyway.
Yeah, you think so, eh? There's a lot of things in the pipeline, I guess, that they've got coming that we probably are going to hear about over the course of the summer.
Sure, they had 5 months of not being able to say anything, and they're so cashed up. And if you look, everybody paid double the price for everything, every acquisition in January, where now they're getting a discount if they want it. So, you know, and you know, they've got cash. Cash is a huge advantage in this marketplace.
Cash now, how much?
So they just did a bought deal with Canaccord for $25 million. Facility for 116,000 kilograms is fully funded. I believe they had somewhere in the neighborhood, you know, I think on hand, not counting what they've already got fully. It got called Get Exercise, looking at about 200 to 225 million in cash on top of what they already have. That's will take care of everything else.
And how many shares are there in total?
Well, how many shares out total?
I'm not sure exactly. Fully diluted, it might be 276. So that number sticks in my head.
So okay. $1 a share in cash, roughly.
Yeah, $1 a share in cash. Okay, well, that's Jason. You know what? We're going to wrap this up because it seems we're having a bad signal day on our Skype TX, and I'm not sure why, but the signal is a bit choppy, and we're getting complaints from the audience on our YouTube. So this is not normal. Usually we have a pretty clean signal. So we're going to come back to you. We'll do this again next week if that's okay with you. And sorry about the bad signal. We'll take care of it and come back to you.
Could it be the thunderstorm?
Hey, what can you do?
I don't.
Could it be the thunderstorm, do you think, Jason?
No, I don't think so. I mean, my place is pretty well set up for this type of thing.
Just as by departure, tell us, how do we find you online? How do we get to the Wolf of Weed Street, or I guess marijuanastocks.com?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's the #1 domain in pot stocks. I also own pots.com, but it just goes to marijuana stocks. So you can find me on Twitter, and you know, I make myself available to everybody.
Okay, great. We'll come back to you next week. Really appreciate the experience here, Jason. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yep, no problem.
Well, that's what happens when you have a lousy signal.
It's different. It makes it a little distraction. I can't talk.
I know, it's horrible for the audience too. We're going to have to give our provider, Beanfield, a call because they're supposed to guarantee us 1 gigabit up and 1 gigabit down. Guaranteed. Does that look like 1 gigabit to you? No. Beanfield Connect, Toronto. Please send somebody over here and help us out. We can't have this. We're going to have to move to a new provider.
Right.
Anyways, so what did you take away from that? I mean, it sounds to me like TGOD's in a good place, and
a lot of cash, right?
A lot of cash. Yeah, they can do a lot of things with that.
Means maneuverability, right?
Yeah.
And the main guy, this guy Rob Anderson, I don't know him, but people say great things about him.
I know Rob. He's a great guy.
Yeah. So and he put his name on this. He's the CEO. He's the chairman. I guess the main guy's taking $1 a year salary.
Yeah,
that's kind of nice to see. You know,
he's got 11 million shares of this thing, but he is locked up for
11 million shares.
He's locked up though.
That's like 80. Quick calculation. Yeah. 80, 90 million bucks.
Well, if it's still the same price by the time it gets there. But if you ask me, I think he's planning to take it. You know, I think. I mean, I can see that. I've never seen him put his name on anything in the past.
Really?
At least not for a number of years. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. So for him to put his name on this and takes such a big position, restricted shares, obviously it tells you what
and to have it tied up for that long, like I mean, you know,
that's a mindset. Now, compare that to what company would we like to talk about whose share structure is all over the map and they're blowing it out faster than you can say Jack Rivera.
You know, I'll just throw this out because I just read this. I was interested to know that Cannabis Wheaton's changing their name tomorrow.
Yeah, I heard that.
And they changed their name, changed their symbol, right? So how many shares do you think are out in Cannabis Wheaton? And because it's listed on the notice.
I don't follow Cannabis Wheaton. I couldn't tell.
550 million, and it's trading at $1.30. Quick calculation would be $700 million.
$700 million. You better math than me.
Well,
okay.
just like arithmetic.
So, do you think they're changing their name because of the criticism surrounding the use of the word Wheaton in their name?
Maybe.
That's kind of like taken.
Maybe, but it's interesting. You know, it's described in the notice as the industry has something to do with banking. Banking.
Cannabis Wheaton is banking?
If you look, if you punch up Cannabis Wheaton right now and look at the last press release, it says right in there, industry.
I'm going to do that right now.
Do it. Just maybe I'm full of marijuana.
Yeah. Like what? Zowie.
It was Zowie.
Okay.
So CBW.
All right. Let's go take a look.
The last news press release, name change. It says.
Okay, oops, I just stomped on it. California's Live Money, that's not a real site. Cannabis Wheaton Income Corp announces proposed change of name to Auxly Cannabis, A-U-X-L-Y.
Yeah, Auxly.
Huh.
Interesting.
What do you think that means? We're going to have to ask Chuck.
Auxly.
Chuck's still angry
so
at me because I broke a news story once.
Go down and below and says industry.
Cannabis Wheaton is a collective of entrepreneurs with a passion for the cannabis industry past, present, and future. Their mandate is to facilitate growth for the partners by providing them with financial support and sharing their collective industry experience. Their partners all have different visions, voices, and brand values, and all share a common goal to build a world-class industry based on ethics, diversity, quality, and innovation. There's no mention of banking. You know what the problem is, Ed? Is that there's all these sort of, let's just call them fly-by-night websites out there.
Right.
That say crazy things and make crazy predictions and barely have a grasp of the English language, of which I am to myself sometimes guilty, I will admit. And they're coming up, like if you look at this news feed, they're coming up in the quote media news feed, like Live Money, like what? Why is this story here? It's not issued by the company. It's talking about Canada Royalty. It's like they're ticker bombing companies with big followings just to get some traction on their press releases. It used to be very frowned upon, and the news companies would not have anything to do with it.
The company is classified as a banking industry company. It says
well,
right
but
there.
again, that's
Stockwatch.
But Stockwatch is always rewriting press releases. You cannot they always rewrite headlines. They rewrite press releases. They abbreviate them. So
I always thought this was a marijuana company, but maybe
Stockwatch is good for a live quote, but not much else.
But you pay for that live quote.
Well, yeah, you pay through the nose. But like their news, forget it. It's the National Enquirer of the industry.
Okay. You learn something every day.
Yeah.
So they should change that.
They should. Suzanne's holding up something. Mike is stuck in traffic. The poor bastard. We need to get him some Scotch whiskey.
Maybe.
He's stuck in traffic, Edward. I wonder if he's driving. If he's driving, he can't have any whiskey.
Yeah, I know.
Do you think he's maybe doing a little quality control? I don't think Mike smokes.
And Mike is. Now tell me about Mike. I don't know Mike.
Mike is the founder and CEO of Cronos Group. So Cronos Group used to be PharmaCann, or that's probably not a fair description. We'll actually ask Mike to describe it in detail. But they bought PharmaCann and they created and bought some other licenses. So as far as I know, and again we're going to have to ask Mike when he's not stuck in traffic, which. But the site that we've been to, which is now rolling on the B-roll, is the one in Stayner, Ontario.
Stayner,
and that was
I know where Stayner is.
Do you? You've been to Stayner, have you?
I've driven through Stayner on my way to Fort
McNeil?
Perry Sound.
Perry Sound, right. Oh, because it's right. It's up there near Wasaga Beach.
Yeah, if you take the back way, you know, exit around Barrie, before Barrie you turn and you go by, Stayner.
Ed, let's cut to, while we're waiting for Mike, let's talk about the Ontario election for a second. Because
it's on right now.
Doug Ford said that he was going to take the mandate of selling weed in Ontario away from the
government,
the LCBO model,
right,
and privatize it.
Really?
That's what he said. Now, he said that way back in, I guess it was April.
Do you think he remembered he said it?
Well, I don't think so, because he hasn't mentioned it since.
Right.
He came under, a whole bunch of criticism. I mean, if you ask me,
right,
he's like Donald Trump. Like, he just makes it up as he goes along, and the truth never let the truth get in the way of a good story is his, motto, his operating motto.
Right.
I saw an interesting quote from an individual on a news feed. He said, "You know what? If anybody wins this election, I'm leaving the province."
Wow.
Yeah. What Kathleen Wynne? I mean, she jumped ship before there's even the sign of an election.
Is that like the rats leaving the ship?
Yeah, and she's going by the polls. It's like what is the polls? The polls reach people who are in the phone book. Are you in the phone book, Ed?
As a matter of fact, I am.
Oh, are you? I'm not in the phone book.
You know what? I don't know if I'm in the phone book. How would I know?
Well, you get a phone book and look yourself up.
Why would I do that?
Well, you know your own phone number?
Reapers.
You know how many people don't know their own phone number these days?
How many? Do you know the exact number?
No, I don't. That's a rhetorical question, Ed.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So anyways, Cronos is the first company to list.
Isn't it Cronos, the word Cronos have something to do with time? Like chronologically, Cronos, but it's a Greek word. Is it with H, Cronos?
Nope, this is not.
Or K-R-O.
I'm going to look it up right now for you so we can sound knowledgeable, even though we'll see what Cronos definition. What was that? Somebody's yelling at us from the other room. What is the meaning of Cronos? Here we go. There's a definition.
What does it mean?
It is the personification of time in pre-Socratic philosophy and later literature.
Socratic. Is that something to do with Socrates?
Hey! Boom, boom.
Do you know what Socrates said, apparently? What Socrates said?
What did Socrates, yesterday?
No. He said it a long time ago. I said a long time ago. He said, I only know one thing. I know nothing.
Well, boy, that's profound.
Wow. Eh? Wow.
Was his next word Zowie?
His next words was, didn't the masses execute him or something? Like
Socrates?
Didn't he have a bad ending?
No, I think he died of old age. Let's look up Socrates.
Okay.
How about this? How did Socrates die?
Yeah.
People they're not gonna want to watch our show because it's like, why do we want to watch them for? They're just looking up stuff on the internet. I gotta look up the stuff that I'm interested in.
I say something and you try to substantiate it.
I see. Is that how it works here? How Socrates died. It's a very popular search.
Yeah.
Poisoning. He got poisoned. The poor bastard.
Yeah. Wow.
Poisoned.
Wow.
The death of Socrates in 399 BC, as reported by Plato in the Phaedo. Is this for real? Is somebody making this stuff up? Is usually attributed to poisoning with common hemlock. His progressive centripetal paralysis is characteristic of that poison.
Wow.
Well, who would want to poison a smart guy like that?
Because he had a lot of ideas that were sort of avant-garde, and it's sort of like the Earth was always considered flat, and when the fellow said no, it's round, they killed him. They said. It was
Newton.
One of those famous great
Olivia
physicists.
Newton-John.
Olivia Newton-John.
Wasn't that the great physicist? No?
Yeah.
Wrong Newton?
People don't like to be told.
Big Newton. Big Newton.
People don't like to be told they're wrong. They get a little jumpy.
I tell you, you're wrong all the time. You don't get upset.
I don't care. Under the category, I was wrong. I made a mistake once. I thought I was wrong.
You made
I actually thought I was
having a bad day. I was wrong.
Having a bad day. I thought I was wrong.
All right.
Can you imagine?
I can imagine. You know what? There was a couple of requests here that we we talk about Afria. The audience is actually getting a little bit cantankerous about it, and you know, they're saying Afria gets no love. Now, if
buy more.
You don't think it gets enough love?
If it's not,
go buy it.
If it's not, if the more you buy, the higher it'll go. And stop selling it. Who's ever selling it? Stop selling right now. It'll go up like a rocket ship.
That's right. You know what? Let's check out the power of social media. Stop selling Afria and start buying more of it. Let's see if we can make it go up.
In fact, kill all the offers. It'll
Turn off the stock exchange and send in your checks. Come on, what's wrong with you? Actually, you know what, Ed? The market's closed. You can buy more Afria stock if you wanted to.
You know what? Start putting in your bids right now. And then cancel before the market opens.
Yeah, and there's a great deal of criticism about our short interview with Jason Spatafora. I just want to take this moment to say, sorry guys, we're so sorry. It was the internet. It wasn't our fault. Anyways, back to our regular featured programming. Afria. Have you been to Afria? We've been to Afria. Me and Fraser, the guy in that room there,
right?
He's making all this.
Did you get any samples?
You know what? Every time we go to a marijuana grow up, we ask for a parting gift, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, and they just, ha, 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 no, we can't do that.
They give you an investor package.
Yeah, well.
They give you two and say, pass one.
Yeah, no, exactly. Give one to your friends.
That's
No, you know what? You know what it is? It's because of the tight regulations. And they're all, of course,
if they ever got out, they were giving out samples, they could come under a lot of,
yeah, you know what?
The heavy hand of the law.
Yeah.
Pow.
Exactly. No, you know what? All of the ACMPR growers I've been to, there's no sign of anything, you know, they're just not going to take that chance.
Yeah, I know.
And, you know, but I think now that the industry is, you know, going to be legal recreationally, and a feature of Bill C-45, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, Edward, is that every household is allowed to grow up to 4 plants.
Right, right.
Now what happens if you take a plant and you keep it in the veg mode for 18 hours per day for, call it, I don't know, you can keep it in veg mode for 16, 18, 20 months.
Right.
You're going to get stock on it like this. It's going to spread out to the edges of your house.
Really?
You know, well, you could actually
It'll be a tree. It won't be a plant anymore. It'll be a tree.
Exactly. And how many pounds of weed do you think you get off a single plant? I don't think the number of plants is a good way to regulate it. And you know what? The whole idea about regulating a plant that grows naturally,
I know.
completely Looney Tunes in the first place, don't you think?
Please. And if everybody grew 4 plants themselves, why would they need to buy any?
Zowie. Zowie. It would all be Zowie.
Yeah.
Everything would be Zowie.
What was the mania back in during the South Sea bubble? Was it?
South Sea bubble. Edward, where do you come up with
South
this
Sea
stuff?
bubble.
How old are you anyways?
335.
One of the guests said, get this, this old stoner is awesome. I think he's talking about you. Or it could be me, couldn't it?
You know, you look pretty young.
Hey, I do look pretty young, don't I?
Youthful.
It's the fountain of youth that I drink at every morning.
Really?
Yeah. Scotch whiskey is called.
Yeah.
Scotch whiskey and cigars are good for your complexion.
If you want to throw all the people that criticize you, throw them on a sort of a wild goose chase.
Yes.
You get up in the morning and you splash booze all over you. Don't drink any, and gargle with it, and then come in pretending you're. And then you listen to the comments because they'll think you're hammered, but you won't be. There you go. There's a little trick.
Boy, the day that happens, that's the best thing I have to do in the morning. I'm going to soak myself in alcohol and make everybody think I'm drunk.
I should do that before I come on the show. You're going to say, you drunk.
Ed, you're smelling a little bit.
What's the word sot mean? Sot. Isn't that a drunk? A drunk.
A sot. I don't know. It sounds like old archaic English for a drunkard.
It is.
A drunkard or a wastrel.
A wastrel.
Do you know all the words that have been used to connote somebody who drinks too much all the time?
How many?
Yeah, how many words?
I bet you there's 100.
How many? 100. How many of those do you think you could come up with right now? There's a good way to kill Tom.
Here we go. Okay.
Okay, Mike's still caught in traffic.
20.
Whoa! The man himself. Boy, how are we going to do this?
What a
He's
relief.
in person. I'm going to give you the boot, Ed.
Okay. Give me the boot. Give me the boot.
Yeah. Ed Gorenstein is here, ladies and gentlemen. Wait, I'm looking over there at that camera. Ed Gorenstein is here. He's going to join us.
You know what? You know what, though?
What?
If I stayed and you left, 2 Eds are better than 1. Nice to see you.
Ed, great to see you too.
See you later.
All right, we're going to see you at the ball game.
Yeah.
Are you going to the Stockhouse Martini party?
Yes, absolutely. For some whiskey.
Did I say Ed? Yeah. I've got too much Ed in front of me. Mike, how's it going?
I gotta be more exciting so you remember my name.
Oh man, I'm sorry. We're having a rough day today. I was overserved because I've got friends from out of town. We took them to Bar Rebel. Have you been to Bar? Ed, get off the set. What do you think this is? This is big time TV now. Come on. Who's going to take us seriously with all
mics?
Yeah, I know. Oh yeah, that's right. They're real.
Really?
They're real, but they're not actually plugged in. Look at that, eh? You just put them on here because it adds to the visual effect.
Should I speak into them?
Speak into the mic, Mike.
All right.
This is going sideways. So, how are you doing?
Great. We made it. I don't know if it was necessarily traffic or construction, and we had a driver that froze. So.
Oh, really?
We made it through.
A driver that froze, like just.
That's it. I'm not driving anymore. There was I'm not sure if I can turn here. The project on King Street is very confusing because there's not necessarily clear signs where you drive, where you don't drive. So
I've been confused by it myself.
Add in construction, it gets terrifying.
Yeah, no doubt. So let's talk about Cronos. Let's talk about the rules that are theoretically going to change today. We don't really know yet, though. How did you like that move of Justin Trudeau voting in 2 new senators ahead of the vote?
Well, that could have been for anything. We don't know exactly what it was for, but we're pretty comfortable and pretty confident. And I think it just shows there's a lot of conviction behind the administration, and overall this is a big policy goal for the Canadian government, and I think it's important for not just Canada but globally. So we're very confident. We're excited, and for us, it's I think the biggest question mark is what happens in Ontario, not what happens with C-45.
Right. In terms of who actually ends up running the province.
It seems like it's coming down to a pretty tight race. So, that could be interesting how that might affect policy for a provincial framework going forward.
Right. So, because Doug Ford said that he was going to privatize the industry in Ontario.
Yeah, we've heard that, and still understanding where the NDP decides that they would take things. So. We think either way, initially, we're likely to see a lot of online sales. Right. But how that framework evolves will be fascinating.
Right. So you think people will continue to access recreational cannabis through online sales delivered by Canada Post?
Well, I think that the Ontario Cannabis Store, regardless of how many stores they have, they will still have an online component. Right. And so I think it wouldn't necessarily just be the medical direct-to-consumer, but also through the provincial framework.
So what moves has Cronos made to prepare for this change in the weather, so to speak?
Well, we've done a lot on packaging, supply chain logistics, not the most exciting things to discuss, but just being ready for plugging into the different, different logistical systems, making sure pallet configuration was ready, load-ins. We were very fortunate that we didn't lean in and print all the packaging before the first round of regulations.
Right.
We're at the point now, though, where you're looking and saying, here are the SKUs that we believe ultimately are going to move the fastest, making sure we've got everything packaged ready to go for day one. So whether that date ends up being shipping in August and in September, October, we'll be ready.
Right. Interesting. So what, in your opinion, and I've got to caveat that with, obviously it can only be opinion because there are so many conflicting ones out there and there's no real way to know. But what do you think is the total Canada-wide recreational demand that will come into the marketplace day one?
Oh, well, day one, I think it's more of an event than just your traditional demand. So I think there'll be people that, if you're a cannabis enthusiast, if you've been an advocate, whether you're based in Canada, if you're based in California, this is a global event. So I expect day one, you're going to see people coming from all over and lining up to order. We've seen it in other states, but this is really a historic moment globally. What that demand will be, we're not sure. I would imagine that it's going to be pretty big lines and things will sell out pretty quickly.
Yeah, interesting. So you're an American citizen, correct?
Yeah, I'm a dual citizen.
Right. So you have listed on NASDAQ. You're the first marijuana company to list on a major U.S. exchange. Do you have ambitions towards evolving into the United States as in the Cronos corporate format?
Absolutely. For us, what's important is developing intellectual property, making sure we have scalable processes, and then once it's federally legal, we always plan to move into the U.S. market.
So that is your sort of the moment you're waiting for, is when it becomes federally legal?
Yeah, we would need something that's affirmative from basically like a license or a permit allowing us to do it, saying that there wouldn't be an enforcement action sort of the other way. So when we went in Australia and Israel, we had something from the federal government saying you're permitted to do this.
Right.
So we would need something allowing us and saying you're allowed to do this, not something saying we will not prosecute you if you do it.
Right. Okay. Interesting. There's been a lot of companies going public lately, and some of them of higher quality than others, and we're not going to name names just because obviously that's not something that we're going to ask you to do as an LP, but do you see that the quality of companies coming to market, especially in the public sector, do you think that quality is starting to deteriorate because it's now attracting every element of the capital markets, the good and the bad?
I think as with just about anything, as you increase quantity, it becomes more difficult to maintain quality.
Very diplomatically said.
I think you'll start seeing evolution, though, where not everyone has to be the same type of company. There is still this idea that everyone needs to be vertically integrated, that everyone will go after every area in the market. But this is a huge market. It's not just recreational. In addition to medicinal, you start getting into nutraceuticals, you get into veterinary, full traditional ethical pharma with clinical trials. So I think you'll see a lot of evolution. I think some companies might not be understood for specialization. Some may not be interested in just growing. Some may go more on the device side. So I think we'll see more of that. But the more stringent I think the process is to go public, the more narrow that field gets.
So the advent of U.S. companies listing on Canada started, I guess, with there were a few companies that went to trade on the CSE with U.S. assets, which caused sort of a moment for the exchange, which there was some consideration that actually slaughtered a lot of the value in the market at the time, suggesting that they wouldn't permit that. And now we've got some Canadian listings whose assets are fully operational and only U.S. assets.
Yeah.
So do you think that the impetus towards legalization federally in the U.S. is having the effect on the regulators in Canada to make them sort of say, you know what, let's just relax and let this happen?
No, I think you're seeing different approaches. So the TSX is, I think, still being extremely restrictive. They're looking for similar things that we would to enter, which is that sort of affirmative stamp. I think the CSE stance really hasn't changed, though. For a few years now, you've had companies with U.S. assets listed there. I think what it comes down to is disclosure. Okay. And where you're seeing more companies list is not necessarily just because there's a regulatory sort of movement in Canada. It's just because people do perceive that in the U.S. federal legalization is getting closer every day.
Right.
And so there's more demand to invest in those companies. And I'm a big believer that when you've got a sort of large amount of demand for something, people will figure out a way to satisfy it.
Yeah, you bet. Do you think that the door will open wider for edibles and concentrates in Canada, or do you think, given Canada being Canada, that they might actually move to make sure that things like potency are very tightly controlled, so products like shatter will not be seen in Canadian markets, even though they're currently available in the illegal dispensary network?
I would put shatter and edibles in a different category. I think that if the goal is to really block out the black market, it will be important to have edibles, to have different forms of concentrates.
Right.
And I think you'll start to see differentiation probably on the provincial level if that happens, not necessarily federal.
Okay.
So I don't know that it's clear that it will be sort of a mandate across the board. But we look at it as a 1 year-ish time frame from the time that the first iteration of rec starts. And there's a lot of different SKUs, a lot of different types of flower products, oil products, pre-rolls, that just from a logistical perspective, there's a lot of volume that's going to flow through in year one, just in those specific categories. And I think while that's happening, it's good that we almost have a pilot launch before we add those other products to make sure that we're able, from a supply perspective, from a distribution perspective, consumer experience perspective, able to have all of those well communicated and well sort of inventoried.
Sure. You started Cronos Group by putting together a few assets, and you had 4 different sort of pieces to the puzzle, so to speak. It seems to me that you've now turned around and decided to focus primarily on the Peace Naturals aspect of it in Stayner, Ontario, or there was one that was involved with the Indigenous Roots, was it called?
Yep.
Is that still going? I mean, I haven't seen that much news about it.
Yeah, it is, and it's still similar to edibles. You won't hear us talk much about edibles because the regulatory framework really isn't there yet. You won't hear us talk much about vaporizers because the regulatory framework isn't there. It's what you've probably seen in the news is a lot of called uncertainty on how the Indigenous regulations will roll out.
Right.
Understanding if you have retail operations that are distinct on Indigenous land, how will those tie in with the regulations of clearing through a provincial wholesaler? So a lot of where we are is sort of seeking and trying to get that clarification before pushing forward one direction or the other.
Right. Okay, that's a great update, Mike. We're going to leave it there. Thanks so much for coming in today. Hey. Sorry we had to get you stuck in traffic.
No worries. Thanks. You got me out of it. So.
Right. All right, that wraps up our Midas Letter RAW broadcast today. We'll be back tomorrow at 3:30 with Chris Perry is going to be here. We're going to talk about MedMen, and we're going to have a full roster of other guests. So please join us tomorrow around 3 p.m. on YouTube and Facebook, and post some questions. We will answer some of your questions. I don't see any questions here. Come on, come on.